All right.
It's
Here it comes.
We are
and
live.
yes. Well, we are just gonna skip that intro because it was being super glitchy. So, welcome everybody. We
All
have
right.
Mike and Matt and Chris Aldrich tonight. So, take it away, guys.
Kenzie, that's the most. So I've been branching out this show, and a lot of people that don't know anything about truck and tractor pulling and very little about media productions in general have been watching. A lot of my coworkers, and the question they asked me, they said, "What is Kenzie's role?" We never hear Kenzie talk. So that is it. You just you hit your quota for the month right there. So
I did. Yeah, I
Mr.
just
Schultz,
make
give
stuff
her a
up.
raise. So
She's working
Kenzie,
really, really, really hard behind the scenes, and
Kenzie on the mic. So
our
well, what's
guest here
going on,
today will know
guys?
about that.
Welcome to Let's Grow Pulling, our first Let's Grow Pulling in March. Matt has returned. Mr. Jason Schultz is not with us again tonight. I think he's at a choir concert. And Chris is at Aldrich. Are we saying that right?
That's it, Aldrich.
All right, Chris Aldrich is here with us. So before I introduce him proper, let me introduce him kind of with what the pulling world might know or might resonate with. And if there's any fans out there watching, please, drop us your comments and ask us any questions, but give us your feedback. If first of all, 2 words, Bowling Green. We all know exactly the significance of that. Need I say more? If you have perused the YouTube over the past 2 years and seen the Behind the Hook series, I've been calling it a documentary for a lack of a better term. Holy moly. If Bowling Green takes pulling to the next level, Behind the Hook takes the driver interview, the behind the scenes. It's almost got that professional feel of a docu-series where you highlight drivers. And Chris, you're kind of the face behind that. Is that correct? Kind of tell us your connection and tell us about Toledo Air Media and everything that you do, and take it away.
Yeah, so I guess to answer that question, I'll give you a little bit of history. So we have been working with the National Tractor Pulling Championships in BG since 2017. They brought us in at a time, and when I say us, I mean my company. They brought us in to kind of bring their media presence up to modern day, to modernize everything that they were doing from a marketing standpoint, from a media standpoint. Um, and we kind of had a unique perspective because we don't come from the polling world. A little bit of background on myself. I actually grew up 20 minutes from BG, never went to BG one time. I knew it existed, but I was unfamiliar with the sport of truck and tractor pulling. Just kind of knew what the event was because it is just so big. Anybody that lives around here knows the tractor pulls. My business partner, though, he had gone to BG once as a kid, but that was the extent of our experience with BG prior to 2017. So my team, we walked into BG, and that's when we started capturing content for them. But our goal being, let's modernize what they do. We started with bringing in some new media and things like that. And one of the goals I always had was, to me, everybody in the polling world knows about polling. But I think what I always told the board in BG, I always said, you guys have a PR problem. You talk about yourselves a lot to the people that know polling, but you don't talk to people outside of the polling world. And I mean, that was very apparent to us because we weren't from the polling world and we knew very little about BG. So that became our solitary mission in working with the board there at the NTPC, was how do we grow not only this event, but grow the entire sport as a whole. So This wasn't a new idea for us or anything, or a new idea to the world. We actually took a lot of inspiration from Hard Knocks on HBO, which, if you're not familiar,
Yeah.
is a series that
Yeah.
follows behind the NFL training camp.
The minute
Well,
you say that, man, it feels identical. Like that's so funny. I mean, because if that's what you're going for, you hit it right on the nose. That's yeah.
Well, back when we started this idea and we originally brought it up to the board, there wasn't a lot of this type of content out there. So Hard Knocks was really the example that we pulled from. But what really made it click for us as a team was when we saw Drive to Survive, which is a similar series focused on F1. I'm a big F1 fan. So when I saw Drive to Survive, it all clicked because it was finally something, a piece of content in line with that behind the scenes documentary style, but it was motorsports related. And now this segment of content has blown up. I mean, now we have the NASCAR one, we've got a PGA one, there's a professional bull riders have one. This
Mhm.
content has just exploded over the last 3 or 4 years. And as I always tell everybody, this content and this type of content has become so popular because people want to see it. And so for us with Behind the Hook, the goal was everybody sees the product on the track. And when you watch our episodes, you're going to see plenty of that track action. But what you're also going to see is you're going to see what these people do. What do these people do when they're not on the track? What do they do to be able to afford this? What is their life like? Here you see in Joe Ader's episode there. And, not surprisingly, a lot of these pullers are in agriculture, but we do have some surprises too. Travis Schlaubaugh, he's not in agriculture at all. So that's what we wanted to do with Behind the Hook, was start telling the stories of these pullers, and that's where we are. We're 2 seasons into this. Every year we try to make it bigger and better. Season 3 is in pre-production right now, and the board is actually going to be selecting the teams for season 3 this week. So
So this is you say that you don't have a lot of background in truck and tractor pulling, and yet you have the right nose and the right eye for how to make these things happen. Because what stuck out to me when I watched season 1 and then started perusing through season 2, you went right for the who's who. Did someone kind of say, hey, these are the drivers that you want to ask, or did you kind of just get that feel walking the pits? You went for Shane Kellogg, the Theobalds, Joe Ader, I believe Schmuckers were in there. Is that correct? The Fosters, you got Carmen Foster and Rob Foster in there a little bit. You kind of went straight to the top. I mean, you picked, it would be the equivalent, in my opinion, of showing up at an NHRA race 10, 15 years ago and being like, I don't know anything about drag racing, but that John Force guy, he looks kind of cool. Let's see if he wants to interview with us. Who put you in the direction, or was this just something that you sensed as you were moving around, like, hey, these are some of the big names. Let's see if we can get these guys on.
So, like I said, we've been working with BG since 2017. So just being around the event for, at that point, our first season was in 2022. So we were 5 years into the event. So when I say we came into working with BG with zero experience, 1 year in BG is a crash course. Everything after that, you start to see familiar faces, but the selection process itself for the teams is kind of a back and forth between the board and us. So they bring choices to the table essentially, and then we kind of go through those choices. We look for diversity, so we don't just want everybody in the same class. That's a big thing for us. So we want different classes. We want people with different stories. Different geographical regions, things like that. So we don't like, everybody loves pro stock, but we like to have some different classes in there, So this season, at some point we're probably going to start repeating classes. We just want people that have great stories, and we want to tell those stories.
Yeah, I think it's great, and Chris, thanks for being on here. It's kind of fun because your perspective is from the outside world, right? And as you mentioned, everybody that's in pulling knows pulling. And then there's a few that are like me that kind of got adopted by pulling. And so I've tried to make it a point to bring in people that maybe have never seen it before, make it more personable. And what you're doing is just fantastic work. An announcer can do so much, but then to have the camera views and then put the people behind the fire suits and the helmets and see what those people are and what they're doing. It's just excellent. And it translates well. So keep it up. I mean, just a compliment from this side, because it's cool. I haven't been to Bowling Green yet, and I can watch these and feel like at least part of it is there. Of course, the party aspect stays at home, but no, very, very cool.
Well, thanks so much. And I know, Behind the Hook really is about following the journey of 3 teams up until this point, 3 teams per season, on their journey up to BG and then through BG. But really, what the whole idea behind it is, we want to grow the sport, because if we grow the sport as a whole, obviously BG being the premier event is going to grow as well. So everything else that we do, and that kind of seeps into everything that we do, because we really are the media partner for the National Tractor Pulling Championships. So Behind the Hook is one piece of the puzzle that we do. So pretty much if you follow their Facebook page or any of their social media accounts, 99% of that content is produced by our company. So, aside from a few random posts here and there by the directors, everything that we're putting out there is things that we've captured or at the event or year round. So now this is a year round project for us to promote a 3-day event. We're working year round. And now Behind the Hook is just another piece of that puzzle to help grow BG, but then obviously the sport as a whole. And I know that's I've mentioned it already, but the background not coming from the polling world, we found that as an asset, because we came in with no preconceived notions of anything. Our first look at everything was how the real world outside of polling would see it. So we've spent a lot of time. Now we kind of straddle that line. We put a lot of effort into promoting it on the inside as well, but now a lot of the content that we put out there, we're trying to get it in front of people that aren't necessarily polling fans per se.
So I kind of have this opinion, and I think everything that you're hitting on here comes full circle and really hits on this. I talk about pulling entering what I call kind of the third generation. We're in the third generation pullers. We had the 60s, 70s, early 80s where the sport was kind of becoming developed and really growing its roots for its modern day. And then that kind of segued into the second generation and the glory days of truck and tractor pulling, late 80s, mid early 90s, early 2000s. And a lot of those people pulling were, the literal second generation of the original pullers. And now we're on to what the third generation of pulling. Here we are 2 decades into the 2000s. We've got a lot of young pullers and a lot of young pulling fans. There's 2 things I've noticed in your videos, and that's highlighting the way that tractor pulling is no longer this county fair, especially at this level. It's not just, a John Deere bee pulling a dead weight sled, while they're judging pigs across the way. I think that Theobald said that, this is not a redneck sport. And you're talking about how you walked in and within moments you realized tractor pulling is marketing to tractor pulling. And you were like, if this is going to grow, this has to be marketed. You can't announce just to the fans in the stand who already know everybody's last name and know all the points races. The first thing that you were able to pick up on like that was, we've got to take it to this third generation, this way of the younger crowd, the younger people, the larger audience. And I think that it's proving that the sport is growing beyond what we had it in our head that it was 40 years ago. And the fact that was apparent to you that quickly comes out in your videos. And I think that's why the videos have exploded and done so well for you guys and for the sport.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the other thing that we did too was we came in and we tried to find comparables, and obviously a lot of those comparables were motorsports. It makes sense. If you like certain types of motorsports, you could likely be interested in tractor pulling. So,
Mm-hmm.
we looked at what the NHRA was doing. We looked heavily at what NASCAR is doing, not because it's a direct comparable, but I do believe a lot of people that would be interested in NASCAR would also
Mm-hmm.
be interested in tractor pulling. So we said that to the board when we first started working with them. If you want to be the pinnacle of truck and tractor pulling, look no further for examples of what you should do than the pinnacle of any other motorsport. So that's why we look at what NASCAR does. We look at NHRA. We look at IndyCar, F1, things like that, because they're at the top of their motorsports. So if they're doing it, there's probably a good reason they're doing it, and we can take a little bit of that.
Kind of the why not us attitude. If this is what NASCAR and NHRA is seeking to do, why not pulling as well? Why not hit it there? Did you feel that you got quite a bit of crossover when you started taking it to those other demographics, which are very comparable demographic markets? But did you notice a lot of your F1 or NASCAR fans or drag racing fans kind of following what you guys had created with Behind the Hook and kind of getting hooked on pulling a little bit more? Did you dive into those audiences, and did you bring them over a little bit?
So what's the first season was, let's just get this concept off the ground. Let's produce a good season as a proof of concept, but a workable proof of concept. So that's what we did with season one. Season two was, okay, let's start to refine the idea a little bit more. And now we're starting to put it out there. Now that we have a little bit of a base of content, now our goal is like, let's get this in front of more people now. So season three is going to be another step further. Okay, how do we get this in front of more people? When we created this first season, we had nothing to show people. We just had, hey, we're creating this thing. It's going to be exciting, but when you don't have something to show somebody, it's hard for them to get excited about it. Now we have 2 seasons of content here. Now we're really going to start to dig into this. And we have such great support from the board in BG. They believe in us. They have a lot of trust in what we do. And every season that we give them, they're just blown away even more. And that's really what we're doing. So we want to make sure the content, even though we want to market this outside of polling, we want to make sure the content resonates with the polling community, number one, because then we're representing them well. Then we can take it out beyond the polling world. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're in that transition period now. Season 3 will be the step when we really take that. But I see on Kenzie's screen over there, Travis's episode playing. And one thing that really struck me with Travis, which is not uncommon with all of these teams, a lot of the people that know these folks and these families where they come from, they have no idea that they are the top
Mm-hmm.
level
Mm-hmm.
professional
Yep.
sports people
Yep.
that they are,
Yep.
especially Travis. The
Yep.
one lady, Corrine, that we talked to there, she's the economic development director for the town that he lives in, and she had no idea. Like, I asked her, do you know what Travis does on the weekends? Do you know that he is like at the top level of a motorsport and competes and has won, and he's been a grand national champion? No, I had no idea. I mean, and that's what I mean when I say the polling community has a PR problem. Everybody, and it's not always, that's nothing against Travis. It's because he's very humble. He's not out there telling everybody, hey, look at this. Look at all this money I spend on this. Look at all these things that I've won and how good I do. But really, that's what we have embraced at this point is, let's tell those stories, because if you're any sort of a motorhead, you're going to be interested in this sport because it's amazing. The amount of power that these machines put down is just insane. So if we tell those stories, people are going to want to listen to them.
Yeah, and I think it's a reflection too of a building of an understanding. And this is something that when I start from the ground up to educate people with truck and tractor pulling, it's understanding the different levels that this sport can exist and understanding just the amount of hype that is warranted when it is being performed at its top level. Now, at every single level, of course, we support that and we're all about that. But when you are talking national tractor pulling championships at Bowling Green, Ohio, at a super national pulling for grand national points, teams that are millions of dollars invested, this is the Daytona 500, of truck and tractor pulling. And I'm of the strong opinion that it's also not a one shoot thing. Like, this is the Daytona 500, but we've got a couple Bristols and we've got a couple Talladegas and Charlottes, and Martinsvilles too. I mean, there's a lot of it. So when you go to Travis's hometown and you're like, hey, did you know that he pulls tractors? A lot of people have this kind of common image of, the back in the day, out of the farm. Oh, good for him. What are you getting excited about? Well, sure, beating and banging stock car racing existed too, but there's also the Daytona 500. And I think kind of using that analogy and getting people to understand the level at which the sport can grow to. And I think that's what, like, you're trying to show the world. And I think the videos show that very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big, one of the goals with it obviously is entertainment, but really education is what we're going for. And that becomes apparent because, unlike when you say NASCAR, people know what you're talking about, whether they're a fan or not. When you say truck and tractor pulling, people do not. It's become very obvious to us that they have no, I mean, we get everything from, yeah, I know what that is. The two tractors, they hook together and then they hook a chain between them and they pull each other back and forth. And that's what people think. I mean, people really have no idea what this sport is about. So it's just that's our biggest hurdle is kind of educating. But it's a fine line because we are producing this, obviously, like I said, season 1 and season 2, primarily for the pulling community. So these are people that already know. So we have to walk a fine line of how much education versus entertainment, because we'll lose the pulling community proper if we focus too much on everybody that isn't already a fan.
Yeah, and there's not a ton of middle ground either. That you have the ones that sink their teeth into it. I've got my 5-year-old can come up here and rattle off 15 different drivers, and that's how they are. We are people who just grew up with it, for whatever reason. And I know too that I used to watch some productions back in the day, and they would almost strive for education, but to the point where as a diehard fan, you almost feel like you're being pandered to. And you're like, okay, like, yep, I know that thing's called a sled. Like, yep, I've heard of that before. And so you're walking a razor thin edge there to keep us who are, thirsty for content and will eat it up left and right, but then also bringing in all the new markets, because you can't only market to us because we're a very limited few. And until it grows, then what you're doing and what we're here at Let's Grow Pulling are doing, it becomes almost too much of a niche audience. So you have a tough task, but I'm not a production guy. I just know your videos are freaking cool. So that's what we go for.
I mean, we wanted to tell the stories, number one, but number two, we wanted to bring production quality into this sport. There is some other, good production that's done out there, but really we felt that was an area where we could help the sport as well, because, bringing good production quality, which takes time and it takes money. So that's why not a lot of it exists. That's why when you look at something like NASCAR or F1, they're full of money. They're flush with money. They can afford to create all of this dynamic content, endless streams of content. So that's part of, our mission as well, is we need to try to play with the big dogs, but we need to do it on a much more modest budget. So that's always, we're trying to walk that fine line of keeping the pulling community happy, but also giving content that is at least digestible to the outside the pulling world. But then also, doing as much as we can when we don't have endless budgets like those much larger motorsports.
Chris, what do you see? You're talking about season 3, making that transition. This thing's growing. It's popular. We're talking about it here. What's the big ideas going forward? I mean, is there something you can let us in on? Where's the change? Where do you see this thing growing to, or hopeful? Can you speak to that just a little bit if you haven't already?
Yeah, I think, one of our goals is taking this maybe farther than YouTube, getting it onto some streaming platforms. That's
Mhm.
one thing that we're looking at. As soon as you step into the streaming platform world, you're going to automatically open yourself up to some other audiences. But you've got other considerations involved with that. Not to get too far into the technical realm, but a lot of these platforms, you need to film with certain types of cameras. There's length considerations on the actual content itself. There's all these new stipulations that instead of creating exactly what we want, we now have to create exactly what we want, but within this huge list of parameters. So it becomes another challenge that we put in front of ourselves. So the big thing that we're doing is every season, let's make it better. And to your point, what does better mean? Well, if you watch season one and then compare that to season two, you start to see we dig in a lot farther into the home life of these teams. Like, what are they doing outside of BG? Because, like I said, everybody sees that product on the track. Don't get me wrong. If you haven't watched the episodes, you'll see plenty of product on the track, but you'll also see a lot of those behind the scenes things. And that's, that might be at BG, that might be at another event entirely, or in large part, season two, we started to focus a lot more on their home life. How do they afford to do what they do? And how does it work? What's it look like? So that's our next step, is digging into that a little bit more. But yeah, I know we're definitely going to be looking at ways. We already are looking at other platforms to help build the audience in front of some people that don't already see it.
Well, that's great. Yeah. And then when you talk about the people, that's the biggest thing. Is I always talk about the fire suits and the helmets. You see the machine, people root for the machine, but sometimes having that home story for somebody, it creates that, maybe hero mentality, or, villain even. There's that personality. You talked about NASCAR. It's got it. Everybody's, you're an Earnhardt fan forever, right? You're going to hate the other guy. Well, even if you really hate them or not, it creates some energy within the sport, which is good. So, that's huge. That's really exciting to see. How can people check out more of your productions? What's your website to help us out there? Let's go ahead and point it to that.
Yes. So as a whole, we're a creative and technical drone service company that also now is a complete production studio. So if anybody wants to find out anything about what we do as a company, because we do a lot more than just truck or tractor pulling, we are tam.com is where they can find us. But yeah, I mean, we're super excited about this community. We've been welcomed in, and definitely helping these teams that we've now covered through 2 seasons. They are the superstars of the sport, and they don't get a lot of that out in front of people other than at actual events live in person. So this has been kind of a transition for those teams too. And that's what kind of another goal of Behind the Hook was. It's like, okay, let's take these people that are the superstars of their sport and let's put them on a pedestal now. And that's not because they're asking for it, but if you look at any of those other series that I mentioned, what do? They put the superstars on a pedestal and put them in front of people because they want, this is the pinnacle of our sport. If BG's the pinnacle event, these people are the pinnacle competitors, and we want people to know the people that play parts in the sport because it helps us tell the stories.
And telling the story as opposed to just filming and laying out the competition is integral. Pulling, I've always felt, can be a very tricky sport to put on television. If you watch a baseball game, 2 teams, 9 innings, you don't have to know anything to understand that. If you watch the Daytona 500, 1 set of cars, X amount of laps, winner wins. But pulling can go for 5, 6 hours, 5 sessions, 13 classes, each getting 2 hooks, 2 tracks, with a plethora of different rules and inspiration for each separate class. That can be really tough to then condense into a nice, manageable hour and a half, ESPN worthy time slot. So instead of doing just, hey, here's, pulling, if you're taking it in that direction, telling stories and removing the helmets, that works well. That works really well, in my opinion. So, but yeah. Hey, before we send you out of here, and thank you so much. This has been a ton of fun. You've been an awesome interview. If your lips are sealed tight, you can seal them tight. But I know what every commenter on here is dancing around on the keyboards. Can you hint, maybe give us some color or rhymes with any season 3 teams that we might be hanging out with in season 3? And like I said, if that smile is tight, then keep it under lock and key. But I know everyone's curious. Can we get any teasers?
Well, it's a valiant effort there, Mike, but I'm not I got to give it to you. That was good, but I'm not going to spill any beans because, like I said, the board, that we have their trust. I'm not going to put anything out there that they don't want out there. So sorry, but not this time.
To all our viewers, hey, I did my due diligence. I laid it on as thick as I could. A couple of commenters on here, Travis, who I had the pleasure of interviewing at the farm show too, and is just a salt to the earth, amazing human being, says they were honored to be selected last year and says you guys do an incredible job. You talk about pinnacle competitors, and he is one. So that's wonderfully high praise coming from him. Chris,
he was great to work with.
And I'd be remiss too if I didn't give Keith Seiler a shout out. He was another amazing interview that I did at the farm show. And I know that I imagine you and he probably worked together quite a bit. Anybody that you need to thank or any shout outs that you need to give before we let you carry on with your Monday night?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I want to say thank you to the fans. Everybody, if you've clicked play on one of these episodes, if you've hit share, if you've commented, if you've done any of that, thank you. That's all we ask of you, is just keep sharing the content that we put out there. It helps us grow this series, and we're going to keep bringing you more as long as you keep giving us the great feedback. Next I want to thank the board. None of this would be possible without the board from the National Tractor Pulling Championships. Like I said, you mentioned Keith, Dave, and the rest of the guys over there. Really, without them and the trust that they've put into us, and we bring them some crazy ideas, and this started as one of those crazy ideas years ago, and we kept pushing on it, and we said, we believe in this idea. This is going to be something, and they put their trust in us, so can't thank them enough for that. That really is a blessing for this project that they continue to support it. They are the biggest supporters of the project. And other than that, just my team. We put so many hours behind the hook specifically, other than everything else that we do for BG. Behind the Hook has now pretty much become a year-round project. So by the time right now we're in pre-production, we'll move into production in the next 2 months or so. And then through the end of the year, then we're in active production. And, once BG ends, then we're in post-production for the rest of the year until we release episodes. So can't thank the team enough for all the work that goes into it.
Oh, really cool. Chris, thank you so much for being on tonight. What you guys are doing is fantastic. Can't wait to see the next season so we can finally find out who those drivers might be. Right, Mike?
That's one of those things. And pulling loves that. But it's almost better to not know, because this is what we'll do driving to every pull all summer, is we'll chew on it and debate it and, have that. But yeah, getting to see the drivers list, getting to see the ones behind it. And, these are people that we idolize. These are people that we worship. Keep pulling back the mask, keep behind the hook, and keep letting us see it. You guys are doing amazing things for the world of truck and tractor pulling. All I can say is thank you and keep it up.
Thanks so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. And you won't have to wait too long on those teams. Like last year, we did a little reveal video to at least give people an idea. So just hang in there a little while longer. We'll get you something before not too long.
We're in it for the long haul. Hey, man, you've been awesome. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. It's just too cool for school, bud.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate it.
You got it, Chris. Have a good night, man. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool, man. That is
Yeah.
cool. I got to rewatch some of that because when you talk about the Hard Knocks, I spent a little bit of time watching that, being the
Mhm.
football fan, right? And then it's like to see the production and things. It's like, whoa, there's something
They're-
to this. So I'm
They're
excited to
gonna
see those names.
you can tell they're gonna be on Netflix or Discovery or something. I mean, you can just kind of tell that's the style that they're pushing. So to all our fans out there, I sent out I did as many reels as I could. I'm learning. I am not the social media guy. Like if you're out here and you're watching Let's Grow Pulling, like I watch tractor pulls and I talk, and that's all I've done my whole life. And I just happen to accidentally get in front of a camera, and Kinsey and Jason have had to deal with me ever since. But I've been trying to do some more social media. I've been trying to make posts. I'm learning that as I go. And one of the things I kept telling people was Josh Blackbourn. He's turning into our Matt Damon. Josh Blackbourn will be on. I promise. He wants to be on. He didn't make it on last Monday. He's not able to be on this Monday. He's he's vacationing. He said his wife would kill him. He goes, you can't go pulling and vacationing at the same time. I get it. I completely get it. Josh Blackbourn will be on at some point, but he's not going to be on tonight. But instead, we're going to talk Keystone Nationals. Is that our next guest, Kinsey?
Yes, she is.
Gonna
Look at that segue. Jess is there right when you brought her up. Hello, Jess.
Good
Hi,
time.
guys.
How are
How's
you this
everything
evening?
going?
I'm doing well. How are you all?
We are awesome. So you are here to speak with us about, and I'm going to say this, I think I've been saying it wrong, so correct me immediately. Is it just Keystone Nationals or is it Keystone Winter Nationals?
Nope, it's just Keystone Nationals.
Okay.
You've got it. Yep.
Keystone Nationals from the Keystone State in
right.
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Tell us the dates, tell us how it came to be, and tell us why this is an event people should be fired up to come check out.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. We're looking at March 14th, 15th, and 16th in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the capital of the Keystone State, at the Pennsylvania Farm Show Complex. This show has been going on since I think it was about 2007. A guy by the name of Tom Street in Virginia, gathered up some of his buddies across Maryland and Pennsylvania and said, hey, I think we should bring an indoor pool to, the mid-Atlantic to the eastern coast here. So they've been going strong ever since. We technically should be in our 17th year now, but this is unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, depending on how you look at it, year 15. COVID kind of shut things down there for a couple of years, and it is a state-run facility. So, we kind of were at their mercy there. But so it's, I don't know, we've got a lot of exciting things happening this year, some changes, some updates, some new things, some new features, 3 big days of pulling and all under one roof. The place is 1 million square feet. So regardless of the weather, you get inside and you don't have to go anywhere. You don't need to miss a single thing or deal with any of the weather outside. So it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And live stream too, right? This is a big one. I really want to talk to my Midwestern buddies about why I feel that this live stream is going to be something they should look into. Can you tell us about where we can watch and some deals you might be running on the live stream as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Live stream has been a great feature for us these last few years, has really grown. So we're thankful for that. You simply go out to our website, KeystoneNationalsPool.com, and you can order the live stream there. We've actually made some pretty sweeping changes to live stream this year. We had, some technical difficulties last year, and we've heard a lot of the commentary, and so we're working on making it better as always. And so we've got a completely new platform that we're working off of this year that some folks out here put together for us. The sessions are kind of tiered based on cost. Thursday and Friday morning are $20. Friday evening and Saturday morning are $25, and the finals are $30. So we definitely work across the board to keep it really affordable for everybody, so that as many people as possible can tune in. But where you really get the savings is if you go ahead and just book all sessions straight out the gate. We do that for $90, so you save $30, and then we're also throwing in the new Friday morning session for free at that price. So we just want to encourage everybody to tune in where they can.
I think if Midwestern pullers want to broaden their knowledge, and our last guests, Matt, we talked about education is becoming, which, that fires me up. Like, whoever thought teaching and pulling would cross paths, but I'm a big believer in that. But education is becoming people can become more educated about what the world of truck and tractor pulling has to offer. I've really fallen into a rut, and I think to all other Midwestern pulling fans maybe as well, that pulling just exists here in the Midwest. And make no mistake about it, it certainly does. And then we get this preconceived idea of what the Northeast, and I almost feel bad calling Pennsylvania the Northeast, but I'm from Missouri, so I'm going north and east to get there. So I started looking at your driver's list. Holy moly, that is extensive. You have a lot of good iron coming to pull out there. And then I was looking at all the states, and I'm so accustomed just thinking Ohio, Missouri, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Ohio, Indiana. But no, it was New York, Vermont, Maryland, North Carolina, Virginia. I had no idea. I'll admit, I had no idea. I knew there was pulling out there. I didn't know it was that big. I always kind of like to think, I'm going to recognize a driver. I'm going to recognize a vehicle. I'm looking forward to sinking my teeth into this because there's a lot to be learned and seen here. Pulling tell us about what the pulling scene out there, we'll just call it out east, looks like. It's a bigger deal than I realized.
Absolutely. Just in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia alone, which is where we spend a lot of our time pulling, you can get to a hook every weekend you can get to multiple hooks every weekend, excuse me, from, mid to late April, the whole way up through the end of October. And, it's a real wide variety of iron. We still have a ton of farm stock around, and then you just go on up through the power, really. We've got a really healthy selection of, what's our light pro, mod turbo, super farm kind of stuff. There's two-wheel drive trucks are really becoming a growing class out here again. So it's pretty exciting. There's a ton of minis around. This year we've got a whole session of just minis added to Friday morning at Keystone. Almost 50 minis between the small block and big block will run. So, we're kind of dubbing that, the largest indoor winter gathering of minis in the country, under one roof. So we're pretty excited about that. It's a healthy sport out here. Much like you guys, we're all doing our best out here to just continue to grow, the fan base and get the word out about why, pulling is just an awesome sport to be a part of. So.
Mm-hmm. And we see some traveling there. There's some Wisconsin, a lot of Maryland.
Many is coming from Wisconsin this year. They're probably the furthest outside of our friends from Canada that, come down and pull with us. But I think we've got somewhere around, I counted today, 17 states so far, represented on the driver's list, which is pretty cool. We're typically right around that 15 to 20 mark. So, we're really, really excited about how far people travel to come join us in Harrisburg.
Third of the country being represented in one spot, one weekend over St. Patrick's Day. Sounds like fun to me.
How about it?
I didn't realize that. Yeah. I was looking through the list and I didn't see our buddy, Matt. I didn't see Chuck Hobbs's name on there. And I'm pretty sure now when we're talking mini rods out here, we're talking naturally aspirated mini rods, which is going to be just a little bit different. We're not looking at no forced air on these. So no superchargers, no turbochargers. These are kind of run what you brung and motor building classes and the small block and the big block minis. And Chuck, I'm pretty sure that is his bread and butter. And he told me, but I tell everyone, strong speaker, poor listener. And Chuck told me, whether he was in the small block or big block class. And like I said, he did his due diligence.
Small block.
I didn't do mine. So
it's funny Chuck hasn't been on here tonight.
I know. Normally he would be. I was drawing that out as long as I could. I was waiting for Chuck to jump on.
Chuck at? He's busy tonight getting farm equipment ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they run a lot of small blocks. We had a bunch of them in Florida. We had 20 show up there, 2025, and to see 50 is incredible because they've got a great following. And I don't want to say it's affordable because none of this is, depending, but it is one people can get into, get involved, and to see that many show up and show out is fantastic. And I think you said that it's going to be part of that Friday morning. That's going to be included if you buy the whole weekend package on the live stream. Is that correct, Jess?
That's exactly right. Yep. Friday morning, that session is going to kick off at noon. So we actually will have 3 flights of the small blocks and 2 flights of the big blocks. And then we'll take, I think it's 11 from the minis, from the small block, and 5 from the big block that'll go on to the finals then on Friday evening session. So yeah. And, the other thing is for the folks that are, here not too far, that they can drive to join us, we're doing the ticket for that session for just $10 this first year, just to help get people in the stands and to come out and see a really great show. So we're excited for it.
I have a question for you. What's your attendance usually like? I mean, I know weather can be dependent, but what's that look like for you all at a Keystone?
Yeah, I would say across, the 3 days, probably in total, we push anywhere from 6,000 to 9,000, maybe, depending on all of those factors that you're talking about. Obviously, the Thursday evening session is our lightest, simply because of it being a weekday night. But when you get into Friday evening and Saturday, we typically have a pretty nice attendance for sure.
Oh, great. Yeah, get it all done before planting season begins, even if spring wants to start a little early here in Northern Illinois. I know a lot of folks are getting excited about that. Had one of our commenters talk about how smooth and well-run your event is, and one of their favorite polls. I love to throw that out there because as promoters and people that are working it, it's like, darn it. Yeah, it's good to be appreciated, right? So
and those guys are really great supporters of the pool too. I do a lot with the social media for the pool, and they're constantly sharing things onto their page. So we appreciate them and appreciate that they make the trip down from New York every year to run in our super stock class. So.
Oh, great. Yeah, anytime you're promoting it and making it work and people are reciprocating back that good energy, it makes one heck of a big difference. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
What are some of the primary pulling organizations? And I tried to learn a lot more about regional level and state level pulling over the past couple of months, and I'm trying to get as well versed as I can to know all the different organizations around the United States. And I had the names of the ones in Western Pennsylvania on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember them. It's not, most places you'd see something like Pennsylvania Pullers, but there's some organizations out there, and I'm blanking on them. So what are some of the organizations that you guys draw from or work with or cater to, some of the leagues that come and pull with you at the indoor pool?
Yeah, I mean, starting off in Western PA, where you mentioned, one of the predominant forces out there that's been around for a long time is Full Pool Productions. They certainly do they put on fantastic shows, and they're expanding too. There's a brand new series this year called Pull Off Productions. I think that's what it is kind of a sister organization to them. And so they'll be running some more shows and kind of moving a little bit further east in across Pennsylvania as well. So that's pretty exciting for them. There are some young organizations scattered around like Pull Off. There's a CS Promotions up in Northeastern PA. I know I'm going to forget some, so I apologize, but Central PA, down into Maryland and Virginia is Interstate. Interstate has been around for a real long time and continues to really run some strong tractors and trucks and puts on a ton of hooks every year. We've got the Snyder County crew and East Coast Pro Pooling out here. Western Maryland. Oh my word, there's so many. And then you get up into New York, you've got Empire State and New York Hot Farm Series and things like that. So we see a real broad assortment of organizations represented at Keystone. And it's really nice to see that diversity for sure.
Yeah, I love, it's a new hobby of mine. I'm learning more about state level and regional level pulling, and man, there's a lot of good organizations out there. You mentioned Empire State. That's one that we hear a lot about. They put on some good pulls. United Pullers of the Carolinas is another one that comes to mind. They might send some guys up your way as well. The classes really intrigue me too. Now, your 4-wheel drive truck class, is that, and Kinsey, you can help me out because you get exposed to a lot of this stuff probably more than I do as well. Is that going to be the same? Are we looking, 6,000 pounds, naturally aspirated? Like, is that just what we see here in the Midwest, or is that was the one that I felt like I would recognize the best? Or do you guys, is that anything different? What can you tell me about that class?
They look the same. I mean, I don't know a lot on trucks, so Jess might know more than me, but I will try to pull up something here, see if that will help you out.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what we base those rules off of. We typically will, pick rules. The committee chooses rules that are already set for the organizations, that we predominantly see there. So I'm trying to think which one that's drawn off of.
The 6200 modified 4x4 trucks is the class on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, because that's
It's about got to be, because there's only so much more you could do, I mean, none of the other ones let them run any blowers or chargers of any kind. So that would be, I would think some Midwest guys would want to go out here and kind of go toe to toe with some of these guys. I think that'd be a lot of fun. How long is your track? Do you have a longer indoor track, or is this kind of your typical 250 feet, somewhere in that ballpark?
Yeah, we definitely have that more standard. I think our sand pile's right around 260 is considered pretty full pool at that point. So definitely a little bit shorter, and we actually run into a concrete block wall. So we definitely have a pretty steep sand pile with some big straw bales parked back in there to keep things under control. So
I know a guy that drives a 4-wheel drive truck from the Midwest who's not very afraid of those concrete walls if he's looking for somewhere to go play. So
a lot of that been happening lately.
He might say, once a lifetime is enough for that ride. So
we've had a couple of tractors climb that sand pile pretty good over the years, for sure. So
yeah, you're out in hot farm country out there in Pennsylvania. It's like anytime we're in Shipshewana, there's 12 or 13 from Pennsylvania that come out and represent really, really strong runners. And I expect to see them out there too. Someone actually brought up the fact that one event got canceled, the indoor event, actually in Indiana. Have you seen an increase in participation from the puller side because of that? Are people maybe tracking east a little bit more to get that one more hook in before spring season starts?
That's a great question. And we've talked about that some. I can't honestly say. Some of the guys on the committee may have a stronger opinion about that. I'm not sure that we had a ton of crossover in classes there. There may be some that could fit in. The other thing to note with our pool, because of the limited time that we have to run all of those, they definitely, last year our finals ran till 3 a.m. So we definitely want to keep this show very family centered. So the committee made some changes this year to scale that back some in order to get everybody in and out of there at decent hours. So the classes were a little bit more limited than they might have been in the past. And they've certainly, kind of played along where we could there, but they were starting classes with 12 or 24 as the limit, and so I'm not sure if there was a lot of opportunity. Some of those filled up really quickly. That one mini class was filled in the first hour or hour and a half that registration opened. So wow, it was pretty wild.
Yeah, they don't waste time on that. That's if there's an opportunity to go indoor, they're going to do it, and you provided that, so that's outstanding.
So, and you do cap it, then there's now, is that a first come, first serve? Is that an application process? How does one go about making it onto the list for one of the 24 in a class at Keystone?
Yeah, in this situation, it's a first come, first served. You have to fit the rules really, and get yourself signed up before the deadline or before the class fills. So, we've got some that are going to be a little bit larger and some that are going to be a little bit smaller. And honestly, that's actually where this mini madness session kind of came from. I think we had it limited to 12 of each at first, and there were, upwards of 30 on the waiting list. So, the committee took a hard look at that and said, let's have them come pull. Let's figure this out and have them come pull. And so that's where that Friday morning session kind of came from. So we'll have some classes that are a little bit larger, 14, 15, some that are a little bit lighter, 10, 8, 9, 10. So it just depends on the response in the class individually, but they use that cap kind of as a guide.
And What did you say? Was it last year? It ran well into the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah,
Okay.
every single session was a late night, but the finals, I think we ran the last blown mini at or light limited. I forget which one was last, but right around 3 a.m. is when they finished up. So we are hoping to wrap up every session throughout the weekend, well before midnight is the goal. So.
Right. And I know people that's one of those things worth touching on, because that's something pulling fans seem to be one of the most, like, we have big emotions and big opinions on things. I always tell people it's funny, we're dealing with these, kind of blue collar farmer type people, but a lot of big feelings and a lot of big emotions in pulling. And one of the strongest things that I hear people being very divisive on is time of pull, pace of pull, length of pull. And 50% of the fans out there are like, let's burn it down. If it goes till 5 a.m, I paid $20 to be here. Just think about how much entertainment that is. I drove all the way from Missouri to be in Pennsylvania. Why are we trying to slow it down or speed it up? Why do we want out of here earlier? But then there's other people, and you just look at the crowds. I mean, let's be practical here. Once we starting classes at 12:30 in the morning, your crowds don't hang on, when your sales go down and your vendors go down. And, you can say what you want about loving truck and tractor pulling, but, 8 straight hours at a truck and tractor pull might be a long time to be there. So that's a tough decision to make, because you're in between how many people do you let in, how many pullers do you let in, and how do you kind of walk that line? Half the people say pull till, people say quit trying to rush pulling. And then other people will say, well, no, you have to keep in mind, we're putting on a show here. So yeah, you're walking the tightrope with that one, but I think you guys are going to be right in the sweet spot, hopefully to win that battle.
I appreciate that. That's definitely what they've been working towards. Like you've said, none of that was met with 100% support. Those changes are not always easy to make, and these guys have had to make some hard decisions. And they've adjusted as they went. They've tried to also listen to what everybody's asking for and try to find some happy medium that, is going to still make a great show for the pullers, for the fans, and for the volunteers and the staff that are there all weekend long helping to put this thing on too. It's a long weekend for everybody. We want everyone to have a great time, and, we want it to be memorable, but not in a 3 a.m. kind of way. There's
fun, and then there's endurance, and
That's right.
you go there to have a good time. You don't go there to feel like you worked out. Kinsey, I know you've been to some of those pulls where it was flirting with the 8-hour mark before you guys were, and that's not even going back and wrapping up and editing and everything. That's just actual pull time. And
yeah, there's been a few 9-10 hour ones.
You love pulling as much as the next person, but I bet you're looking for your comfy shoes by the time that you get done with one of those.
Yes, I equally love sleep as well. But yeah, no, it's still a good time though.
Just don't ever complain to Jason Schultz that you're tired. Matt Hart and Jason, you guys have been my inspiration over the past month, because I once complained to Jason that I was tired the day after a pull. And Matt always starts his day with these very positive videos, tackle the world, today's the day, all these things, and it pumps you up. And if you complain to Jason that you're tired the day after the pull, it's not so bright and enlightening. You get a little gentle ribbing as to whether or not you're tough enough for it. So, but no, you've got it. It's got to be fun, and it's got to be fun. And if I know I like to take my kid to a pull. My kid's 5 years old. I can't have them out till 3 o'clock in the morning. It just is what it is. So, you've got to make it work. And everybody at the end of the day, everyone knows that everyone's in it to win it and in it to do the best thing possible. What does your venue hold? What's your seating like there? Gosh. If we tried to sneak in on a Saturday night, would we have a seat?
Yeah, I think so. That's a great question. I honestly can't tell you what the capacity is. We've got a couple of different types of seating available. Our reserve seats. Now you get into Friday evening and Saturday evening, you're going to find singles here and there. So that's a little bit tougher, but then we do have a general admission section where we bring bleachers in. They're basically bordering both sides of the track, down on the dirt, behind the walls. And so, that's bleacher seating. We'll jam people in there until, somebody doesn't want to be jammed in there. So you typically can find a seat for sure. Oh, there we go. Our friend Heidi, who is the assistant director up there at the farm show, she's watching. So 1,660 reserve seats and all those on the floor in general admission. So
fantastic.
There you go. Perfect
That's
answer.
Great.
We've got trackside boxes as well. So, I think we've got a dozen or 15 of those lined up for this year, where those folks will have a great view all weekend long right from that box against the barrier. So yeah, absolutely. We encourage everybody to come out. Tickets are available on our website. You can reserve your seats for any of the sessions, and I'll also order that live stream for sure.
Heidi, are you a bootlegger Svanovec? I'd forgotten. The more I sat here, the whole state of Pennsylvania is going to hate me, because I was like, pulling is Midwest. Well, then you got Colin Ross, Jordan Lustick, the whole bootlegger team. And then, you've got Joe Ader up in New York. So all these people east of me are like, Mike, you have no idea what you're talking about. But I am curious if this is the same family that pulls the bootlegger pro stock, because he's from Maryland. They're from Maryland.
Jason is from Pennsylvania. Heidi and I grew up in the same county as Jason Svanovec and his family. That would be a cousin of Heidi's, but she's also part of the Forrester family out here in Central PA as well. So
very strong running forwards. There, yeah. You bet.
The Keystone States put me in my place. They're like, hey man, no, like you Midwesterners don't know anything. We've got
you just need to book your flight and come in. It sounds like, see what it's all about.
Don't. I've gone down that road. Don't tempt me, because that's exactly what will happen. And I've seen the pattern. I've watched Jason Schultz, and I've watched what you have to do to keep everything going good. And there's usually a trip to Cancun, or there's something like that when you come home to keep the wife happy. And I'm not at a point where I can be doing those things. So I would be to the Keystone Nationals in a heartbeat if I could swing it on all the different fronts that I could. Now, Matt might have to miss a basketball game, but I bet we could talk him into going out there.
Yeah, it's basketball games. It's auction. Auctions are pretty big in Pennsylvania too. I know they know that. I've got a lot of good friends from that area. So the website, did we have that up there, Ken? Did we already put that up for them so that they can get that?
If they want to look behind me, or I put it in the comments earlier.
Perfect. There it is. That way they can get tickets.
It's a great website. Like pulling, now that we're getting these individual pulls that are building their own websites, places like the Pullers Championship and the Keystone Nationals, like, man, that if you want all the data and all the cool stuff, like that's great. And their website is exceptional.
We appreciate that. That's brand new this year. That was a big undertaking. The committee made the decision and the commitment to go all in on that, and did a complete overhaul. And so far everything, the feedback's been really positive. So we really appreciate that. We've heard really good things about how simple and seamless registration was for all the pullers. And we've also heard some really positive things about, ticket ordering and live stream ordering. So, we've identified things that we're going to continue to work on for next year to just keep making things better. But we're really tickled with how well it's turned out too. So we appreciate the positive feedback from everybody on that.
You just said the key words. When you're the type of person, or you're with the type of organization or event where your closing statement is, we're always looking. The minute we get done with this year, we start looking for what we can do better for next year. That's how like if that's your mentality, that tells me, if you're watching this as a fan, that tells me this is going to be an excellent pull, because that's the mindset that good pulling promoters and good pulling production companies and whatever you're doing, good auctioneers, I'm sure, use with their approach. You're always saying, where can we make the next little bit a little bit better? So that's how you do it. That's how you win. That's how you win the approach when it comes to stuff like that.
Well, this is the committee that puts this on. Every single one of them is passionate about the sport. All of them have been pullers or still are. They all also work, on pulls at their local and regional levels as well, their county fairs and places like that. So yeah, everybody's passionate. And I think when you're passionate and you love it, it makes it easy just to want to keep, moving forward and doing better every time.
Yep. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. obviously you are very passionate about this event, and obviously you guys are doing an incredible job. This is one of those, I think people have heard of it, it's turning into one of those destination pulls. That's a term that I use a lot, and there's a handful, the Shipshewanas, the Diesels, and Dark Corners. You can just say the word Keystone now and people are going to know kind of what you're talking about. I hate asking this question, but I feel like I need to. Anybody you need to thank, any shout outs you need to give? And the reason I say I hate asking is because I don't want to put you on the spot, because then they're always like, oh, well, I'm going to forget someone. So, but is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to while you can right now?
It sounds like we're actually going to be back on with you guys on Monday. So some of the guys might be better suited for that. But, the committee is there's such a group of hardworking people, and they give so many hours, the committee and the volunteers that support them. The number of hours that go in both ahead of and during the poll, it's just incredible. So, it's definitely a team effort, and everybody just is so dedicated to it. So I'm not going to name names because I know I'll forget somebody, but they all know who they are and that they're appreciated. But I also can't not say how much appreciation we have for the poolers. I mean, over almost 250 drivers coming out this year. Once again, from, like I said, almost 20 states in Canada. It's incredible. And every year we see that, that's what makes it worthwhile for all of us that help put this thing together. Being able to see the interest from the pooling community to come and join us in Harrisburg, and the fans too. Whether they're watching from live stream or joining us in Harrisburg, it's just a cool atmosphere. It's just a cool atmosphere. And it's what makes us all keep wanting to do this every year.
Outstanding. Well, we look forward to talking to the guys too, but just wonderful job. Looking forward to hearing how this goes. I'm going to check out the live stream. $20 a day, even if that's all I can do, is affordable, and $90 for the entire weekend, plus a free Friday morning. That's worth the money there. So I'd say everybody check that out for sure.
Well, we appreciate it, and we'll hope to see some of you there. And we'll be excited to put on a good show for everybody.
I have no doubt that it will be. It's going to be awesome. So you've been an excellent interview. I know that it's 10 o'clock your time, so we won't keep you any later. Thank you so much for being on Let's Grow Pulling tonight, and keep up the great work. Keystone Nationals, guys. Be sure to check it out, live stream or in person.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
You too, Jess. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Very cool. Pennsylvania. We got to get that way. Have you ever been?
Eastern pullers.
Oh man, they're serious. You get to Shipshewana and you get to those hot farms and super farms and everything farms and Forester team. You see that, boy, they run, and a lot of them came down to Florida when we were down there too. I mean, they travel because they love pulling out there. So that's awesome to see. Mike, what do you got next? Ken's is working on somebody.
Man, I have a question I cannot wait to ask. I'm like excitedly confused. And that's like a state I live my life in, but I am excitedly confused.
Yeah, that's all of us.
We've been to Ohio, we've been to Pennsylvania. Let's go down to Kentucky, where we're going to welcome Tom McConnell, who's going to talk to us about the pull in Russellville, Kentucky, representing ATPA and VTPA. Tom, welcome to Let's Grow Pulling. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. Anytime I can talk about tractor pulling, it's a great time. And I've been listening to the show, man. I just got to say, the destination pull concept is perfect for what this sport needs. And it's already existing, but like Shipshewana, you're talking about the Keystone. Look, my goal for these new events I've got in Kentucky and in Indiana and some others that'll be coming in the future, destination pulls is what it's all about. It's the entire experience of being there and everything you can feel. And what we're doing in Russellville is kind of interesting. Somebody said years ago, McConnell, you ain't nothing but a brush puller. But you know what? I love brush pulling. I love everything that can hook to a pulling sled. That's what I'm into. And the ATPA and the VTPA combination, our event starts with antiques and farm tractors and muscle tractors at 10 a.m. At 7 o'clock, we have the main event, and that'll feature a lot of light limited super stock four-wheel drives, naturally aspirated mini, some lightweight super stock. So a little bit of everything you can see. And I've learned through the years, it's, from going to the U.S. Nationals, which is a destination drag race. If you haven't been to it, you got to do it. But these NHRA national events that run all day long and into the evening, it's a total experience. But then if you want to just come for the hot stuff or whatever, the times it's going to run, you show up, you can enjoy part of it or all of it. And that's what we're doing is if it'll hook to a sled, we want to pull it.
Matt made a Facebook post before he got on here, and he said he was excited to be back, and he was going to drink an energy drink, or he was going to do something, because he said, I was going to try to keep up with Mike Idle tonight. Well, Matt, you might have been going toe to toe, but I think we just met our match. Tom, that is the most excited opening statement on a Let's Grow pulling show. That is, Matt's over here grinning because I know
Tom is consistent.
Yes,
I know Tom. We've gotten to know each other, and I said, man, by day 3 of a pull, I'm wearing out, and he's just getting warmed up. So it's great to see you, Tom. It's wonderful.
I enjoyed meeting you in Paw Paw.
Yes, sir.
Just the town's so nice, they had to name it twice.
That's right. He still remembers some of mine, but it sounds better when you say it. So there you go. I love it.
The thing is, I was trying to explain this to some people about my energy level, but part of the experience as a promoter, and it's for a puller too. We all have this tractor pulling fever. I got an event this week, and next week we're in Princeton, Indiana, and then the week after Easter, April 5th and 6th, we're going to be in Moorhead, Kentucky. But right now, all the focus is on Russellville, and my, like on Sunday last night, I couldn't sleep. It's going to be like this till we get down there. And then you get down there and you get all the smells and the dirt and I just love it, man.
I can't beat it. This is infectious. Hey, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a hard time because I'm a little confused about something. So Kentucky, I went down to Louisville for the second time in my life, and I was just convinced that Kentucky is completely Southern, and my understanding of Southern states is that they are supposed to be warm. And we were scraping snow off of our windshield leaving the farm show. And I was like, well, shoot, I could have stayed in Missouri if I wanted to do this. Now I'm looking at this pull. This is what, March 8th and 9th?
Yep. This week.
And this is an outdoor pull, correct?
No, this is an indoor pull.
Okay. There, my confusion. I was excitedly confused, and I am excitedly no longer confused. I was like, I know the South is supposed to be warm, but Kentucky, you guys are flirting with not quite being soil temp where it needs to be.
I've been going to the farm show since I was 3 years old, 1973. And I can tell you one thing about the farm machinery show. You usually get nice weather, but I promise you're going to get 1, if not 2 days of icy hell. It always happens. So it's always a little slap. Hey, it's still winter. And you get that at the farm show, but the weather looks pretty nice indoors and outdoors. But this is it's not going to rain out. So fans are obviously here, and we're wanting to get on this show. We want people to go to our website, atpapulling.com. That'll link you up to the vintage pullers with the antiques and the muscle tractors as well. But we want pullers to come to this event, as many as we can get there. If you've never pulled with us before, there's no membership. Come on out. It's all, I talk about Paw Paw. I have told so many people about the experience of that pull, and that's what it is. It's an organic experience, and that's what I try to create at all my events. And remember, at the end of the day, I don't care if you're running for 50 grand or a trophy. It's all about the fun. It's all about the life. But when you talk about the money, that seems to draw people in. And what we've got at this pull for that's kind of interesting, Sempico Lubricants is doing something they've never done before. But if you buy into the contingency program with Sempico, they're going to double your money at the events in Russellville, Kentucky, Princeton, Indiana, Moorhead, Kentucky. And that means if you're a light limited super stock, $2,000 a night going to the winter, you can walk away with $4,000 in your hands. Same with the super stock 4-wheel drives, lightweight super stocks. And then the other categories, your pro stock 2-wheel drives, they're running for $1,000 to win. Your mini rods, we've got 2 categories of the mini rods, the Middle Tennessee, and we will clarify that on our website and social media with the Middle Tennessee rules and the Mid-South rules. 2 divisions of the mini rods. The mini rods have really come on strong in the naturals in the past few years, and we're behind those guys, and they put on a heck of a show. Those guys are running for great money as well. And a class I wanted to bring up that has really come of age, I think. And I've seen it at so many different, I was up at Morris, Illinois, was another ISP event I was at. And then I've spent many times in Dairy Days in Platteville, Wisconsin. And then you go back over to, the Kentucky events, that so many of them. But there's a class, earlier last year with the ATPA, earlier in the season, back in May, went to an event with the interstate tractor pullers through our sponsorship programs. And it was over, it'll come to me, Woodstock, Virginia. Excellent pull. But one class that was in all these events, super stock 4-wheel drive trucks. They are in just a perfect state. They've got steel bodies. They're not fiberglass. They look like trucks. Their motors running, between 520 up to 570 cubic inches, but you get that high RPM kicking feeling, and the trucks look beautiful. An NTPA member state pull I was up at a couple of years back, Colby, Wisconsin. Now there's a destination pull. Check that one out. But the super stock 4-wheel drives have really come about, and the ATPA is really going to push that class along with obviously the light limited super stocks, because these are categories that don't have a true national home. We're going to give them one, and you'll see it through the rest of the year and the different things that we're doing throughout the country. And we've got a lot of interesting trucks coming in. You've got the sleighbacks with the flammable Travis Centers in Kentucky, but we've got Ron Brommel coming down out of Illinois with he's one of my heroes, the Orange Crush Ford. I had a picture of that truck hung on my wall for about 12 years when I was a kid. And the cool thing is, I know the original Simon Says Chevrolet truck is out there now in a super stock 4-wheel drive combination, keeping these bodies alive that have been all over the country and still being able to see them. It's just amazing. So there's going to be vehicles that are coming down to this event that people in Kentucky and Tennessee have never seen before. And like in the light limited super stocks, so we've got 6 guys coming down from Ohio. Bob Evans is one of them. Michael Ellis is another guy. Kevin Shingleton, Alan Moore coming, and another tough guy, Anthony Hart with the Heart's Desire out of Indiana, and getting calls every day on these categories. We've got 6 pro stock trucks coming out of central Illinois, and they said they're coming down to Kentucky to kick the butts off of the Kentucky pro stock boys. That's what it's all about. Supporting your group, supporting your team, and coming out and just having one good time.
How many do you announce? Because if not, you should.
After I announce, when I drive home, I talk to whoever's in the truck with me all the way home.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're getting bored, because we were talking with our last guest, if you're getting bored at one of those 3 a.m. pulls, just put Tom on the microphone. He's going to keep everybody moving and grooving. That's
That's an inspiration.
How many total hooks are you looking to have at Russellville?
Well, I was just talking about what we call our main event classes here with the mini rods, the pro stock, super stock 4 light limiteds, and what have you. But we start our antiques and our muscle tractors and our farm stock tractors at 10 a.m. It is a 2-track event. And, when we did the VTPA Nationals in Louisville, we had over 1,000 hooks. Not anticipating that, but it's possible because we're getting so much feedback from the antique guys and from the muscle tractors and farm stock guys now. We may have to put a limit on how many times they can hook, and we'll just have to make it decide at the day of the pull. But there's going to be a lot of trucks and tractors out there is what I can tell you. A lot of them. And I tell and one of the things we want to reach out to, we were talking about Simpico doubling the purse. You can get all the details at atpapulling.com. And for the vintage guys, you can go to atpapulling.com or you can go to vintagepullers.com. But they will lay out with the antiques and the muscle tractors, Simpico's doing the same thing in their contingency program. And there's going to be guys like in the baddest antique category that pay $300 to win. Well, you're in the Simpico program. You're going to walk away with $600 for your antique, So, and that same goes for the muscle tractors. So all that information is there, but Simpico has been really good to us, along with our friends at Pro Puller Tires. Fago soft drinks. If you know me, there's a Fago always around. So they're going to be supporting the event as well as a new company that's joined up with us, Carbon 375. So it's going to be planting time soon. So find out what Carbon 375, how it can increase the yields in your crops this year. So, but we're up for having a great time, and it is going to be a blast down there.
VTPA. So this, I'm going to go back to another thing I was excitedly confused about. VTPA stands for Vintage Tractor Pullers Association. Is ATPA American Tractor Pullers Association? And if so, is that at all? Where this threw me a curveball. This is the first time I've seen ATPA since the early 2000s, when the national level ATPA became the Pro Pulling League, or kind of merged into that. Is this in grassroots anyway, or is this similar or affiliated? Is this the same ATPA and I haven't heard about it in 20 years, or what's what?
Let me give you a little story real quick. I was at the 1993, I believe. Yeah, it was 93 Indy Super Pull. And the Connor brothers, and it might have been 94. It might have been 94. I think it was. The Connor brothers with the original Bad Medicine Alky burner, which became the Silver Bullet. They didn't pull much the year before, but they qualified just enough to get to Indy, and they kicked their butts. And they asked Ernie, they said, what are you doing? He goes, oh, we're back. So something similar like that. Just watch for the regrowth. I mean, with our affiliate program, we had sponsorship programs for regional groups across the country last year, and we're going to continue that. And the goal is to bring all the regional guys. Let them do what they want. Let them be themselves, because that's what makes them unique. You don't want to force these groups to change anything. And I go back to Paw. You got classes that ISP has that nobody else has. You got classes that in the Middle Tennessee Pullers that pretty much it's their unique group. Let them live, let them flourish, and then have special events. And that's what we're doing here with the ATPA, special events like Russellville, Kentucky this weekend, Princeton next weekend, and Moorhead on April 5 and 6. Bring everybody together a few times a year where everybody can have fun together. And then go back home and support your local pulling organization. Keep it going. And that's the structure of where we're going, is through our affiliate networks. And if you go to atpapulling.com, you'll see a lot of events that we work with the groups. And if they'll hang up the banners and do the PA announcements, by golly, we can get them sponsorship money. Simple as that. Then we say there's no membership, but come on out and pull at some of these big events and see if your group can beat the other group, kind of like an NCAA thing. Come on out and cheer them on and have a ball. That's what it's all about.
Amen.
Yeah, and that the destination pulls create that and make that happen. They create kind of some of those friendly rivalries. And Matt was talking about how Pennsylvania brings those hot farm guys out, and there was that one Wisconsin guy we saw that was going out to Keystone. And it is neat when you can kind of see what the other guys are doing, and like you said, support your local organizations, absolutely, but then represent them as well, and kind of go to these places and say, hey, here's what we've got going on where we're from. So
and this is the time of the year to do that, because in the summertime you got to support your local your local group.
You're running points.
Yeah, exactly. Run points and you support the local pulling. But this is the time of the year where you can do more than that without affecting your local organization, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then if you got time off in the summer, by us getting together over the winter, you can go to our website and you can see the schedules of hundreds of events going on throughout the country at one good website. If you got a weekend off, go pull with one of these groups. Check it out. Make that your destination. Because there's destination pulls that can be a little bit in everywhere, because there's there's a lot of places where you see stuff. That's the only place you see them, especially Armada, Michigan's a place like that. You go up there, and I love farm stock and muscle tractor pulling. Armada, you see a lot of Fords and Internationals, and you go to other places, Platteville, you see Wisconsin at the Dairy Days, you see a lot of John Deere's, and you see different, you see what the farmers grew up with and farm with and what was prominent in the areas, which is, very unique to me and for all of us tractor aficionados,
Yeah, no doubt about it. So yeah, just all the stuff is good. All the stuff's exciting. Matt, what are your thoughts on everything here? What are your thoughts on Russellville and the ATPA and the VTPA and the destination pulling as a whole?
Well, it's exciting because Tom and I actually visited with this. He brought it up. He came in and with the sponsorship program, we got to visit actually over the mic, which was fun. He talks about, the brush pulling, right? And that's kind of where I live because that's the local. And the local gets away to become a bit more national. And I think it's great for a lot of those smaller club members. I see people from around this area going east and west, finding these types of events. So I'm glad that it's still available to them because, like Tom said, there's a couple of clubs, that have some classes that, have been around since the 70s, 80s, 90s that don't really get that prominence anymore. But it's a bit more affordable for the local and still a lot of great horsepower and good show for the people coming to watch. So I think that's great. And we're talking about destination pulling. It's just huge. How cool is it that we could travel somewhere? Kenzie, myself, we all did it. We went somewhere and got to hang out with friends and enjoy pulling in the middle of winter with the sunshine out. So we'll have to bring you down for that one next time, Mike. But yeah, no, Tom's the energy behind all of this. He's keeping us going, which is great. And honestly, Tom, I'm not in a bad way. I'm glad you're our last guest because it brought the fire right back to our show. So it's always great to see you, my friend. This is exciting for you. And I know you work your tail end off for this. And so let's get people out there and get in the stands and enjoy it because, like you said, that's what keeps this thing going.
We've seen passion manifest itself in every which way possible tonight. I think if you look at all of our guests, and it's just a reflection of what pulling is capable of bringing out in people. We talked with Chris, our first guest, who is just polished and professional and is creating these things that are taking it. He's going to be on Netflix someday. I have no doubt about it. And then we had Jess come on, who's constantly preparing for the future and looking at the fine details. And I'm kind of cut from the same cloth as Tom here. I'm just like, hey, man, I love it. I love everything about it. Let's hit the gate running. I feel like, Tom, if you were a driver, you're one of those guys whose left foot comes up, right hand goes down, and tractor goes where she goes. And that's kind of how I like pulling to be honest. So,
yeah, when a good tractor puller becomes one with the tractor. So that's all I can say. You just become that tractor and have a ball with it. So
Bobby Jones, a driver of the Field Sobriety Light Superstock, told me, he goes, I quit trying to make this thing go places a long time ago. He goes, it's going to go where it's going to go. And the best we can do is try to get along during the ride. He goes, the more you try to force it to do something it doesn't want to do, he goes, it's a light super stock. It's going to go where it wants to go. I'm just going to try to keep it happy while it's getting there.
Sounds like life to me. Yeah.
Anybody, you've done a great job mentioning all your sponsors as well, but is there anybody that you want to thank or any shout outs you want to give before we move on here to our next segment?
Well, I definitely Pro Puller Tires, they're going to be giving away a set of tires for the baddest antiques at the championships in Moorhead, Kentucky. So, of course, they're going to be a part of our programs all year long. But I want to thank those guys, Simpico. Like I said, go to atpapulling.com and find out how they can double your prize money at these events. Fago Soft Drink. The thing about Fago Soft Drinks, they've been involved in tractor pulling now through my programs for over 10 years. That's the longest run of any major soft drink company in the sport. And don't ever look those. If you're ever in a store, you see a Fago, support the soft drink that supports pulling. And they keep growing with us every year. Carbon 375, it's time to plant, and they're going to increase your yield. So find out about those guys and look, check us out. again, no memberships. Come down, have a good time. We're going to be pulling this weekend, Russellville, Kentucky, 8th and 9th, indoors, antiques, farm stocks, muscle tractors, and light limited super stock 4, pro stock 2, mini rods, lightweight super stock. Hell, if we don't have a class for you, we'll make it.
So James Harmon is very, very passionate in antique and vintage tractor pulling, and he's been on the show and follows us quite a bit. How do they get in contact with you?
Well, again, atpapullers.com. You can get the email. My phone number's on there, 502-408-0461. Call me direct. And vintagepullers.com. Either way, send me an email. And I have hired a secretary, so this is going to be, it's going to be easier to reach me now. So, hi, Shauna.
I love it. So, guys, if you're out there watching and you want to bring a piece of iron, especially an antique or a vintage one, they're going to find a way to work you in. March 8th and 9th. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, March 8th and 9th.
This weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. Come on
down.
This weekend? All indoors and have a good time.
Friday and Saturday.
Man, time flies. Thanks a lot, Tom. Thanks a lot. I hope it's a great event for you, old buddy.
All right.
Yeah,
great to
Tom,
see you again.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Best of luck. I have no doubt you guys are going to be successful with everything you're doing. Keep up the hard work.
All right, we'll do it. Thank you, guys.
Take care,
Tom.
sir.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Tom jumped on the stage with me and helped me announce the end of the year event last year. And we went out the night before, me and some friends. And Tom came on when I was just about ready to call her quits and fired that whole thing up. He's got some energy,
He's your
man.
shot
I
of
love it.
5-hour energy just when you're thinking about, oh, man, that was exciting. That is, you can say what you want about anyone out there, but if you approach anything, especially truck and tractor pulling with passion like that, you know, that's going to be infectious. You can, it's hard not to get excited. We've worked with a lot of good professionals tonight who all took a lot of really good approaches to it. A lot of cool people, guys. Pulling is growing, you know, and it's growing at every level. It's not just, you know, the behind the hook guys are showing the world what the Daytona 500 of pullings can look like. But vintage tractor pulling, naturally aspirated minis, you know, the sport is getting big. If you haven't seen it, spend some time with it. It's worth your time. You know, it's affordable, it's neat, it's cool, it's family friendly usually. But it's good stuff. So in the rest of the world of pulling, I saw this before I jumped on. If you want to reserve your campsite at Bowling Green, and man, you want to talk about the world of pulling is growing. When did they open that? They opened up reserve tickets. Now you can get your tickets online in like 2 weeks, but it was like yesterday or something, or 2 days ago, sometime this weekend, they opened up their early tickets in person. They had people camping out like it was Cameron Indoor Arena to get tickets for it. And then the campsites, and I spoke with, this would be a Keith Seiler question too, and I don't remember the number, but it's something like 6,000. There's an insane amount of campsites. It's the second biggest, or it's like the fourth biggest motorsports camping venue in the United States. They're down to less than 80. And this was 2 hours ago when the show started. So if you are looking at getting a campsite at Bowling Green, I would call your campsite bookie.
Yeah, you said 80, like 80. They're
80, like out of the, and I could be way off here, but you know, whatever. Yeah. I want to say the number is 6,000. That's someone get on here and say, Mike, you're an idiot if I'm way wrong. Maybe it's 600.
Be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for.
Oh no, I work with middle schoolers for a living.
That's true. You can handle it.
Now I have to like Google what they're calling me because I don't even understand what they're saying anymore. Urban Dictionary. I don't know if I'm being insulted half the time. So yeah, it's no.
Chris Baker says March 1st. Is that right? March 1st? Is that when that opened? Yep, you're right. Look at that. They said you're right, Mike. Oh man, it might be time to sign off.
Blind squirrels and walnuts, man. Even they find them sometime.
It's warm enough out there. The ground's not froze. You dug one up, didn't you? There you go.
Eva, other cool things going on. Did you guys all bet with our fun Monopoly money at the National Farm Machinery Show with Full Pull, the Full Pull app? How did everybody do?
Not very well.
Not very well.
It was not on the leaderboard.
I ended with $0, which I think is, you know, like it's not real money, so don't come home with it. Kenzie, were you high on the leaderboard for a while?
I was very low because I didn't do it.
Oh,
Busy.
that's like insider trading. You were
Conflict of
filming
interest.
trackside, so you had like too good of like they didn't let you. I was sitting pretty. I was top 20 for quite a while, but I ended up dead last, and I was sad. I was like, man, that was fun. I wish I could have another. I wish I had another 1,000 free fake dollars to bet on a pull at Louisville again. I am pretty sure that's exactly what they're doing, right? For the Mid-America Truck Show, the
trailer
Mac
winner.
Nationals.
yeah. Aren't we?
Are they really?
Isn't Full Pull letting us do the same thing again? 1,000 more
Let me look.
free fake dollars and $1,000 to the winner. I'm pretty sure it is.
These are pretty good comps for people who don't play that much. Yeah. Casino comps with Full Pull. You bet.
I think they're running another comp yet again. Get on here, Chase Richardson, if you're watching, and I am completely
Yes, they are.
botching this, and I'm about to give away all your money. Get on here and shut me down. But
$1,000 gift money you get to play with. We get to try this again. $1,000 challenge. The Mac Winter Nationals. Download the Full Pull app or visit fullpull.us. Join the free-to-play contest. Claim $1,000 in play money. That's right, Michael. You can too. Make your picks. Follow the leaderboard for your chance to win an actual $1,000. Pretty good take. Who won at the Farm Machinery Show? Does anybody know who that is? Did they spend all their money in one place? Was it a beer tab somewhere? What happened there?
last I saw, it was their username, and I quit checking after I ran out of money, which the Friday night, I picked a winner. I picked the winner Wednesday night, so that was helpful. And then I put a lot of money on Julia Ray Thursday night, and that one hit for me. And then I doubled it all down, and I bet big on Friday night, and I lost everything. Actually, no, I left myself a Hail Mary. I had $83 that I put on Blue Blazes because for Saturday afternoon, because Blue Blazes was like, I don't know, 906 to 1 odds. And I was like, well, if that hits, I'm back in the game. And it didn't. No disrespect there, you know. But the last I checked Friday night, it said like some auto company, like so-and-so auto sales. And they were loaded. Like I was sitting at like 11,000 or something, and they were at like 52,000. So,
oh my,
they were, I don't know how it panned out, cause I quit watching after Friday. Cause I was out of all the Monopoly monies. So I don't know how that panned out, but now we have round 2, Louisville 2.0 at the Mid-America Truck Show, Mac Trailer Winter Nationals. I don't know if it's I keep putting winter in front of everything tonight. Maybe it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, there
if you
we
look
go.
in the upper right or left,
Okay.
sorry. Right here.
Perfect.
I've got thunderstorms coming through here so hard I'm losing my internet. It's making me think it isn't winter, but it still is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
There's some tornado warnings south of us earlier.
Yeah, just north of me. I think between us decided to get wiped out again. No, Mac Winter Nationals, and that's a fun show. We're going to talk about that when it gets here because it's right around the corner, right? But you're going to have mini rods. You're going to have mini rods indoor. You're going to have semis indoor, right? That's what we're looking at now.
Yep.
Some of that stuff you don't get to see at the big Louisville show, right? But on the same dirt, same location, and what a cool event that is.
They switched their lineup a little bit. You know, they kept Pro Stocks. Pro Stocks are the king of the cream of the crop in truck and tractor pulling right now, but they did replace the Super Stock Open. I don't think that the Mac Trailer Show, the match show, was doing a duel of the fuels. I think they just had the Super Stock Open, which technically a diesel could get in. I can talk about that. I wrote an article about that earlier today, but that's another story for later on maybe. But they did remove the Super Stock Open, and they replaced it with modifieds, which are a real trip. This group was close at Louisville. Yeah. And this one, there's a lot of repeat pullers that we're going to see coming back. And there's a lot of guys. Bill Leichner's on there, and he's saying, hey, give me a second look at the track. I almost guarantee you he said, hey, the track was going away, but I brought he dropped his first hook on Saturday night. He brought it back quickly. I think he thought the track was going away. It looked like the motors were still very hot. So he's anxious to have a redemption story there. The Simons are just showing the world that thing is like the bad mamma jamma right now. But my buddy, Cameron Neves. I've been saying Neves to the beach. That's like a saying. I'm going to have a hashtag. He's never touched the sand pile at Louisville, but he says that's his goal. And this affords him another opportunity to run that third engine setup. He only ever runs 3 engines at the National Farm Machinery Show and at the Pullers Championship, but he's going to turn right around from all the way out there in McAdoo, Texas, 1,100 miles or something like that. And he's going to come right back to Louisville after getting second place. This was, I mean, the guy's just, it's an awesome story. And this was even while his father was battling some health issues right there in Louisville. He said he was pulling, especially for his father, and he got second place. So, he's saying, we're right there. But I mean, you look at this lineup and you tell me how you're going to navigate and get through that. So this should be a heck of a show in and of itself to watch these modified guys kind of come back in and let the heavyweights have a round 2 bout.
Yeah, so now you got some favorites. Going to see how those odds get made as we get into the full pull side of things. That'll be exciting because people like yourself lost everything, like myself lost everything, and it's time for a little bit of redemption. And look at that pro stock list. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I was telling Jason that we need to get a hold. So when they're giving us like the fake pretend money, I need like a fake backdoor Vegas kind of shady dude who's going to spot me like I'm out, but like it's Friday night and I've still got Saturday at the National Farm Machinery Show and I want to keep playing. So like, can you bust my digital kneecaps or something if I don't pay back my fake 500? You know what I'm saying? Like it's
like the movie Rounders. Here we are. Yes.
So,
yes. The back alley poker games.
I think that's what they call a second email address.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I have to work that out. Well, very cool. No, that's going to be super exciting. What else we got to finish it? Well, there's your mini rods. Got to love that. There's some.
The mini rods, which is really cool. Anytime you get to see Ken Vaney out there, Ken Vaney is I did read this before we got on here. Ken Vaney is the odds-on favorite right now on the full pull games. They're betting on him. I don't know why you would bet against Ken Vaney. I mean, that makes sense. You kind of have to take the long odds picks to win a game like this. If you just pick the 4 obvious winners and the 4 obvious winners win, then you don't make as much money. If you pick the one-off winner and the 400 to 1 odds. But yeah, anytime you can watch Ken Vaney go down a track at a place like Louisville, that's a win for everybody involved.
Well, it's fun to see mini rods in an indoor track because it's long distance for them, pretty much. I mean, we know it's a little different, but at the same time,
but no, really, you're right, Matt, because when you watch it in there and you have to adjust the way you watch it, the limited pros still pull a little bit comparable, I think, to like what they would pull in a regular season. But it's funny watching the modifieds where like the pan is completely dumped at 160 feet. And even the 4-wheel drive trucks, which is such a driver's class where they have to typically wait till the 150-foot mark before they can get into the throttle. So the track looks twice as short when you're watching those classes pull. But the minis, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like they can get into the nice thing about a mini rod is I feel, and I think Tyler Slaw would agree with me here, you just dump the clutch and stand on one of those. I don't know if everybody does it that way, but you can get into the throttle very aggressively.
Drivers like to do that.
Or at least the mini rod drivers do, or at least Tyler does. So yeah, like if you're on it and it's hooked in at 15 feet, you've got a lot more track per foot or whatever to play with than the big vehicles do. The semis, on the other hand, that's the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, you're grabbing it right away. Now you're tugging something out of the bottom of a quarry, fully loaded, and 2 semis broke down behind you.
Yeah, literally exactly. But it is impressive.
There's Tyler.
Impressive to watch what a sled operator can do to the semis indoors. Because
hammer down and hang on.
Make them say stop. Yeah, and run that. And here's my favorite thing he says he does. He runs Tyler. You run the bigger lugs too, or slightly bigger. So I mean, it's literally like it's biting. He gets after it. So
hanging out for the whole show. Yep.
What'll be fun about? I wonder if we will see the adaptations that the Slaws have made to their mini rods, if any, ever since the rule changed. Now that they cannot run their feet outside of the frame rails.
Tyler, he's trying to ask you straight up right here. So if you want to type in.
No, yeah. We'll wait and see. And I think that he has alluded that, obviously something's in the works. I don't know, but we'll know. We'll have an answer when we're watching at the Mac show. We'll get to see whatever it is that we can look at, and be like,
and be betting on
to talk about.
Yeah, there's gonna be an over/under on if they got the new frames, right?
I saw one though. Well, so were you at Ocala? Did you announce that? Did you go down to Ocala?
No, I was a week behind that. Yeah.
There was a mini rod pulling in Ocala set up very comparable to how Tyler had his set up, with the feet outside of the frame rails, underneath the headers. And I just thought that was interesting. I was like, I don't know. I don't know the story, and it's not my story to know or tell. And we'll just see once the pulling season rolls around. So that'll be, it made me wonder. Be interesting. So we've got Matt's coming up, the Mid-America Truck Show, the Mac sponsors Matt's, which is, that's fun to say. And then of course we should probably talk about the Pullers Championship. I feel like that's worth talking about. Matt, have you heard of the Pullers Championship?
Slightly whispered in my ears on these headphones a couple times, maybe on social media, maybe, on the internet out there. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Actually heard about it yesterday. I was asked to come, once you're there, and I'm like, I'd love to be there, but I don't think I can be. So I'm gonna have to live stream like a lot of people. That live stream is going to be available. So doing a lot from my phone these days while I'm on the road. But if I can make it, I'm even told I have a place to stay. So that's exciting. And would love to. It's going to be a great time. We got our final lists as anybody, because I've been off playing basketball and auctioneer and traveling the country. Has everybody committed? When is that date? I don't remember the cutoff for when everybody can commit to that's done. Can you tell me on that, guys?
I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I also feel like this is an excellent opportunity to stick my foot in my mouth.
Perfect.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Like, you've been right with every one of them so far.
Even though I feel like in my gut, like I know that I should be able to, and I'm even though I'm like 95, I'm just gonna say, just keep watching the website, keep tuning in, keep looking at things. Brent Yarin is the man on that. Jason Schultz is the man on that as well. I do know that what's on the website. Yeah, I want to say if it's on the website, it's a thumbs up. But
okay,
do know that, like I said, this looks like an opportunity for me to bugaboo, which is something I try to do as least as possible. I do enough of that on my day-to-day life. But I know that the lineups are really intriguing with the amount of the California pullers that are coming out in the four-wheel drive truck class. I was having a conversation with my buddy. That's such a good metric stick for them, because when you compete almost in an isolated area, you compete in California, which means geographically, because of where they are, they only pull against people in their league, in their area and whatnot. If they come out here and they pull against, the Ike Zarings and the Carmen Fosters and the Terry Hagerdorns and the, whatever, all the Grand National and Champions level pullers of the Midwest, if they come out here and they beat them, or they run right with them, they go back home and their product is just validated. They say, we did it. We are awesome. We are what we need to do. This is great. So that's a win for them. If they come out here, and God forbid, but it is what it is, and they're 10 feet behind, 15 feet behind, 20 feet behind, that's still a win for them, because now they know exactly where they stand. They know where they stack up, and they've seen firsthand, here's where we compare. Let's bring all that information back home, and here's how we put ourselves at that level. So it's a win-win, I think, because they're either going to come out here and show the world what they're capable of, which is what I'm leaning towards thinking that they're going to do, or they come out here, they see where they stack up, and then they bring all the information back home and they say, well, hey, here's how we get there. And then we go back next year and we run with them, and then we go back the year after that and we beat them. And so if you're a fan out there in California, you win no matter what, because you either learn that your trucks and tractors are, incredible, or they go back home with the information to keep pushing the envelope. So
and absolutely. And there's a fan in the
cool.
stands that, we're talking about destination polls. Now all of a sudden Nashville, Illinois is destination poll for West Coasters, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're sitting in the stands, it's like, hey, there's iron you're going to see here that you would have to jump on a 4 or 5 hour plane ride to go see in their home base. So, I mean, how cool is that? So if you're just coming down and paying the $25, $30 fee to come sit and watch and eat a corn dog and drink a beer, you're going to see some really cool iron from all over the place that was voted in. And then, you're talking about champions, of every level through every, gosh, now I'm getting tired. My brain's starting to fizzle out here. And that always is.
Every organization.
Yeah. Organization. That's it. My brain cells aren't organized enough to pronounce that, but yeah.
So I was talking to one of my coworkers and he started watching the podcast and very much like what Chris was talking about. People say, what's pulling? We don't understand pulling, explain it to me. And one of the questions or things he was kind of wrapping his mind around was, well, what are the leagues and what are the levels? And we kind of got to the heart of the matter. And I said, well, there's essentially 3 national level championship level leagues. And that's just to boil it down easily. That's kind of how I explained it. And he said, well, do they ever get together? Do they ever each grab their champions? And do they ever get together and have, their World Series or their Super Bowl where they can see, okay, if my Superstock Open guy was here and your Superstock Open guy was here, who's the best of the best? And I was like, yeah, of course we do. It's at Louisville, Kentucky. And he was like, but that's an indoor pull. And then it really, and this is something that the Pullers Championship has talked about. Like the Pullers Championship is this is literally, yeah, the name explains it. The Pullers Championship. We take the top finishing pullers from each of the 3 major organizations. We bring them here. We bring in the fan vote. So it's almost then it's like the World Series and the All-Star game all at the same time. But this would be the place where you see them all at once and you can see, how do I stack up against that organization? How do I stack up against this or that? And all of the profits from the gate and the live stream go in the Pullers' back pocket. It's an expensive sport, and there is arguably a gap between it's a hobby. At the end of the day, it's a hobby. It's not something they do to make money. And anytime we can get it closer to something that it is something that they do to make money, then that's awesome. So that's what the Pullers Championship strives to accomplish.
Yeah, make it a little better for him. My goodness. You look at the other sports. We talked about that with Chris, and what he's doing. Again, it's about public awareness. It's about dollars in the seats. The more people you can fit in the stands, and the more people, and Tom talked about this, let's bring everybody together from tonight. And the fact you need those sponsorships. And how do you get sponsorships? Get people in the stands looking at the sponsorships. And so, by doing all that and bringing it together and then making it a fan voted, that makes it so much fun for a lot of these people, because like you mentioned, California, West Coast, Nevada, there's a few trucks from there, semis, we see all of that. They're laying it down heavy, but they're not going to get, invited or make the opportunity to make it all summer. So come out in May and put on a good show before their normal season starts and see how it stacks up. So now I'm talking about it, I'm going to have to figure out a way to take a day off and come down and watch it myself. Yeah,
I would highly recommend it. I'm looking forward to being there. My schedule did open up, and I am going to be able to be there. So that's really cool. So that's going to work out well. I got to tip my cap. I got to be a nice husband here. My wife made some nice sacrifices, and she says, that's a pull you need to be at. So I'm going to make sure that you're able to be there. So we were able to put that one on the schedule. So that was pretty cool. And you talk about sponsorships, and yeah, partners are big. Partners are important. If you like truck and tractor pulling and you're at all know somebody who has anything at all, reach out, call your local club, call your local puller. These guys will find a way to work with you. And I know for a fact the Pullers Championship, they have sponsorship packages, that you can contact them and talk to them about. And, I know that I would always assume that, oh, well, if I ran a business, I'm too small. Or, you don't know until you call, like, hey, they call them and say, hey, I love pulling. I'd love to throw whatever your way. And, you don't know until you call them. There's packages, I'm sure, that'll accommodate all that are ready and willing. So
Yeah, the way you get bigger is getting out in there in front of people and marketing and advertising. And I tell people all the time with our local clubs, if you want to hear an announcer say your name wrong a million times over
yes,
to a lot of people, and they know it, hey, that's what we're here for. Throw the dollars at it. So
first pull I ever announced. Oh my gosh. And Doug leaned over to me and like very quietly and nicely, but I kept, and this is like a big one, I'm at the Outlaw Pull and they have big sponsors. And I kept talking about Hoganix and the Hoganix and that's like one of their big ones. And he was like, yeah, but it's Hoganix. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, no, if you, they pay us knuckleheads to go up there and mess it up. So yeah, if you want to hear us say it,
if you want to hear you mispronounced over and over on a Sunday afternoon, give your money to your pulling club. Yeah,
that was what will happen. Yeah, have you butchered? Give me one of your best names that you've butchered while you've been announcing before.
For sponsors, sponsors a little easier because I can look them up on YouTube on the way to a pull. A lot of times I'll do that if I don't think I know it. But there's pullers' names I've messed up. One thing that's fun for me, because I run with a small club, local club, is there's almost always stock tractors and always stock gas and diesel pickup trucks. And a lot of times those gentlemen and ladies will have to fill out their own form. And so their handwriting is not great. And so I see what I see and I do my best to digest it. And a lot of times people be in the fence because they got fans in the stands because it's their local poll and they're having a good time and they're yelling out at me, you got it wrong. And I said, well, the good news is, folks, he's a mechanic by day and he's actually a doctor by night because he could write prescriptions part-time. Because I can't. If you can read this, folks, it's all yours. I'm sorry I messed up your name. So there's been a bunch. If you talk as fast as I do, I had an English teacher tell me once, if you don't know a word, pretend like you do and say it fast. And I became an auctioneer because it's clear I don't know anything. So
that is literally. So in Scholar Bowl, I coach Scholar Bowl, and they say if you don't know how to read a question, just don't like if you don't know how to pronounce it anyway, and just say it with. If you're gonna mess up like you own the room. That is
Mitas tires.
Yeah. Yes, as Tyler Slaw says, just stand on it.
Yeah,
we can apply that. We can apply that to life.
Life's too short to worry too much. People know we're human and we're doing the best we can, and we sure don't do it on purpose. So sometimes we do.
Lots of good pulls out there. That's crazy. It wasn't until I started working with you guys that I saw you can really, if you're looking for it and tip your cap to things like, Beer Money Pulling Team and Jason Schultz and all of them out there who have done all their homework to create this.
Mackenzie.
Thank you, man.
Mackenzie's the worker. Mackenzie's she's the one that makes it that makes it all go.
Try my best.
No, you throw Jason's name out there. So I like this. It's good to have a big boss. Because then when you mess up, you're like, oh no, that's his fault. Yeah, exactly. So that's why. But you can find a pull every weekend. You can almost find a pull every single weekend. They're there, state club, national level.
What's been crazy is the amount of indoor pulls I never knew about. Just tonight, you're talking about. I've heard of that Keystone Nationals. Everybody's talked about it, and then it's like to actually see their site and see how nice that is, and you're looking at big iron all over the place, and it's like, darn it, you could spend the winter doing it, which I generally have a little more time, so I could see some bigger iron indoors, on some of the destination pulls. So yeah, it's great. I'm glad to see it out there, small, big, you name it all. It's growing still, and people are enjoying it from the county fair all the way to the Pullers Championship and National Farm Machinery Show. So
everything in between, and it all deserves to be supported, and it's moving in the right direction. Yeah, but I'm trying to think other pulls that are coming up and going right around the corner. Yeah, we got Russellville, we've got Keystone, we've got the big one, the Mac Trailer Winter Nationals in Louisville, and then after that should get us pretty close to outdoor season, and there is a little bit of a lull right in there, and that's going to be a lot to do with planting season. Yeah. Exactly. That's the other question I was getting when I was talking to a lot of new people. I said, well, when does the season run? Is it February to November? I said, no, this is a farmer sport. You really, at the end of the day, you've got to remember this was inspired by the farmers. So, you're between planting and harvest. And even if you did try to skip, May's a beautiful month. I've always thought, man, you could just fill May full of awesome tractor pulls. You'd be hard pressed to get pullers to attend them because at the end of the day, most of these guys are still rooted in the world of agriculture, and they got to get there. The Blagraves have said that before. I lived and died by Stephen Stan Blagrave for forever. I just thought they were the coolest thing of all time, and they are. But they said our cotton farm comes first, and there are going to be years where we run points. And there's going to be years where if we don't show up until Chapel Hill, then that's because we don't show up until Chapel Hill because the cotton comes first. And people have real jobs, so that's life. That's part of it. But yeah, there's going to be a lull until the Pullers Championship, and then it's Kenzie. What's it like once the outdoor season starts? Where do you sleep ever, or is it just a sprint until Labor Day?
It's fun chaos.
Jason sent me a message. He commented. He goes. He says it gets blurrier and funner from here.
Yes.
I don't know if my grammar's correct, but it gets blurrier and funner. So
funner.
That is correct. Yeah, you think, it's going to be a long summer. You blink and it's
over.
It's September.
That's banquet season.
Yes. Yeah, and speaking of that, my local banquet's this weekend. I can't even go, so there we are. I'm back working again. It's like starting this business has been great, but it's hard to commit to everything. But they're finally getting theirs in, which is exciting. So good luck to all the pullers there. I know they're going to have a good time. It's at a casino and with real money, so they're not going to give you $1,000 play money like they would with full pull. So everybody be safe with that. Play responsibly. I lost all my money last year, so maybe that's why I'm working this year.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I think that puts a button in about everything. Tell them anything you guys need to tell them. But off the top of my head, I think that's what we've got on the docket. So.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, guys. I'm going to be back more. I've got a couple more weeks of some craziness, but we should be good. Once season starts firing up, we'll have more to talk about and things flipping over and on top of each other, including ourselves and some of the poor choices we make. So looking forward to that. Going to be back next Monday. What time do we start, guys? 8:00 Central Standard Time. Very good. So jump on Let's Grow Pulling. Get on the Beer Money Pulling team. Find a pull somewhere and go find them and support them and watch the live streams.
YouTube, we're on YouTube as well. Let's Grow Pulling on YouTube, or BMPT is the YouTube page. But this one's straight at Let's Grow Pulling, right, Kenzie, on YouTube?
Yep.
Perfect. Well,
and I'm going to get on That's Behind the Hook to fall asleep to.
Perfect. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Pulling is fun.
Amen.